Ethan Carter moved slowly over the rocky ground of Varela 7. His boots crunched the frozen dust with every step. He was alone, as always. The mining moon had been abandoned years ago. Nothing lived here now, or so he thought. Ethan had been a soldier once. He fought in the border wars, far from Earth. He had lost his friends and his hope. Now he lived alone, collecting scrap from old wrecks. He stayed away from people. Machines didn't lie. They didn't ask questions. His scanner beeped. There was something up ahead. He followed the signal and found the wreck of a strange ship. It wasn't human. The metal was smooth and dark, shaped like wings. Most of it was broken, half buried in snow and rock. It looked like it had been there a long time. Ethan stepped inside carefully. The air was cold and still. His flashlight moved across walls covered in strange symbols. He didn't understand the writing, but he knew the ship was alien. Then he heard it, a soft growl. Ethan froze. The growl came again, low and weak. He turned and saw something in the shadows. At first, he thought it was a machine. Then it moved. It was a creature. Large, like a wolf, but not from Earth. Its fur was silver, almost glowing in the dark. Its eyes were bright blue and full of pain. It was thin, too thin, like it hadn't eaten in weeks. Ethan raised his tool in defense, but the creature didn't attack. It stayed on the floor, shaking. He watched it for a long time. It didn't growl again. It just looked at him, tired and afraid. "Easy," Ethan said softly. "I won't hurt you." He slowly took a ration bar from his pack and tossed it near the creature. It sniffed the food, then ate it fast. Ethan gave it water next. The creature drank all of it. He wasn't sure what to do. He should leave it. He didn't need trouble. But something in those eyes stopped him. Ethan set up a small heater and left the food. He backed away and waited. Hours passed. The creature didn't run. It watched him, then slowly moved closer to the heat. Ethan spoke to it again. "You're hurt. I can help, but you have to let me." He opened the medkit and showed his hands. The creature growled low but didn't attack. Ethan wrapped a few wounds. The creature whimpered but stayed still. For the next few days, Ethan returned. Each time, the creature was a little stronger. He brought more food, cleaned its wounds, and spoke to it like a friend. He gave it a name, Nova. One night, as he sat near the small fire, he felt something strange. A picture appeared in his mind. It was not his own. It was a memory. He saw a green world, full of light and wind. Other wolves like Nova ran through golden fields. Then fire came from the sky. Ships with the mark of the Krell. He saw them burn. The land he saw Nova fighting, then crashing down. Ethan blinked. The vision was gone. Nova looked at him. "That was you," he whispered. "You showed me." Nova lowered her head. She was alone. Her kind was gone. And she had been left here, broken and starving. Ethan knew that pain. He had seen friends die. He had felt the silence that follows. Maybe that was why he stayed. Maybe that was why he kept. Coming back one morning, Ethan opened the door to his shelter and found Nova waiting. She followed him back inside. She stayed near the heater and slept. Ethan didn't speak. He just sat beside her, for the first time in many years. He didn't feel alone. Far above, in the cold sky, something moved. A signal pulsed from an old Krell ship hidden in orbit. It had found her again, and this time it would not stop until the last wolf was dead. Ethan woke up early. The small shelter was quiet, except for the soft sound of breathing. Nova was asleep near the heater. Her silver fur rose and fell slowly. She looked peaceful now, not like the starving creature he had found days ago. He stood up and made coffee. The warmth filled the room. As he drank, Nova opened her eyes and looked at him. She didn't move, but gave a short, soft sound, almost like a greeting. "Morning," Ethan said. "You hungry?" He opened a packet of food and set it down. Nova came closer and ate. She was still careful, still unsure, but she trusted him more each day. Ethan sat near her, careful not to touch. He didn't want to scare her. As she ate, he looked at the fire and thought about the vision she had shown him. That world was beautiful. It was hard to believe it was gone. After breakfast, he began work on the old engine he had found last week. It was part of a crashed shuttle, maybe still useful. Nova watched him work. She tilted her head at the tools, her bright eyes following his every move. "You like machines?" he asked with a small smile. Nova blinked slowly. She moved closer and touched the engine with her nose. Ethan laughed. It felt strange to laugh. He hadn't done it in a long time. That day passed quietly. Ethan fixed parts, cooked, and rested. Nova stayed close. She didn't speak, but her presence felt like company. It didn't feel like silence anymore. Later that night, as he sat beside the heater, he felt the strange connection again. A vision came into his mind. He saw Nova as a pup. She was smaller, playful, running with others of her kind. He felt her joy, her pride. Then he saw her older, training with alien warriors. She was not just a creature. She was a protector, bred to guard, to fight, to bond with her people. Then the vision changed. Fire, again. Explosions. The Krell came, cold and ruthless. He saw them destroy her home, and he felt her fear. He saw her crash on Varela 7, alone, in pain, waiting to die. The vision faded. Ethan looked at Nova. Her eyes were on him. "I'm sorry," he said softly. Nova gave a soft sound and moved closer. For the first time, she rested her head against his knee. Ethan froze, then slowly placed a hand on her fur. It was soft and warm. That night, Ethan slept deeply. He didn't dream. The next day, they left the shelter. Ethan wanted to explore the area around the alien ship. He thought there might be something useful there. Nova walked beside him. Her steps were quiet, her ears alert. She moved like a shadow, watching everything they found, more wreckage. Ethan dug through metal, finding old power cells, wires, and a broken console. He loaded what he could onto a sled. As they worked, Nova stopped. Her head turned sharply. She growled, low and deep. "What is it?" Ethan asked. Then he saw it, a drone, small and black, flying above the rocks. It hovered, scanning. Ethan ducked. Behind a crate, Nova leaped up and struck the drone with her claws. It sparked and fell, broken. Ethan ran to her. "Are you okay?" Nova nodded once, but her eyes were worried. He picked up the pieces of the drone. "This is Krell tech. That means they're looking for you." Nova growled again, louder this time. Her fur bristled. "We have to move," Ethan said. "They'll send more." They returned to the shelter. Ethan began packing right away. He didn't have much, a few tools, food, the heater, and his gear. Nova stood guard outside. She was ready. "I have an old dropship in the caves," Ethan told her. "It's broken, but maybe we can fix it." It's our best chance." Nova looked at him and gave a short nod. They left the shelter that evening, moving fast across the cold surface of Varela 7. The sky was dark, filled with stars. The wind blew hard, but Nova kept them moving. She knew the land better than he did now. They reached the cave just before nightfall. Inside, Ethan showed her the ship. It was dusty and old, but the frame was strong. "If we fix the engine and power system, we can fly," he said. Nova walked around the ship, sniffing, listening. She stopped near the control panel. Her eyes glowed. Then something strange happened. The panel lit up. The ship responded to her. Ethan stared. "You have a connection to this tech." Nova looked at him and sent a new vision. He saw her people again, using ships with living systems. The machines and the wolves worked together. Nova could link with them. "You can help me fly this thing," he whispered. Nova made a soft sound, like agreement. Ethan smiled. "Then we're not done yet. We fix this ship. We get out of here, together." Nova stepped closer. For the first time, Ethan saw hope in her eyes. They were not alone anymore, and soon they would be ready to fight back. Ethan worked through the night. The cold wind howled outside the cave, but inside, he and Nova stayed warm by the soft glow of the ship's control panel. The ship, once dead, was now showing signs of life. Lights blinked, systems hummed. It wasn't ready to fly, but it was close. Nova helped in ways Ethan didn't expect. She touched panels with her paw, and the ship responded. She could open doors, move screens, and even restart small systems. It was like she was part of the ship. Ethan watched her work and smiled. "You're full of surprises." Nova turned to him and gave a small sound. It wasn't a growl or a bark. It was something between the two, almost like laughter. Together, they fixed the power core. Ethan replaced broken wires and old fuses, while Nova activated safety systems. They made a good team. He was fast with tools, and she understood the ship's language in a way he never could. As morning came, they took a break. Ethan sat on a crate, drinking warm water. Nova rested beside him, her head near his feet. He looked at her. "We're almost ready. A few more systems, and we'll be flying." Nova looked up at him. Her eyes were calm but alert. She sent him a vision. He saw a Krell warship in space. It was huge and black, like a floating knife. Drones poured out of it, searching the stars. One of them had sent a signal. The warship was coming. Ethan opened his eyes. "They know you're alive. They're coming here." Nova stood and growled, low. Ethan got up and checked the sensors. The ship picked up a signal, small but real. Something was entering the system. A scout, maybe. "We don't have time," he said. "We need to leave soon, but we need one more thing, fuel." The dropship ran on plasma cells, and they didn't have enough. "I know where we can find some," he said. He pulled up a map. "On the screen, there's an old mining station not far from here. If the cells are still there, we can fly." Nova walked to the door. She was ready. They left the cave and moved fast across the frozen land. Snow crunched under Ethan's boots. Nova ran ahead, scouting. She stopped often to sniff the air or look at the sky. After 2 hours, they reached the station. It was half buried in snow, rusted and silent. Ethan opened the door with effort. The air inside was cold and dry. They moved through dark halls, their lights cutting through the dust. Old machines stood still, covered in ice. Ethan found the power room and smiled. To plasma cells, he said. Still sealed. He packed them in his bag. But as he turned, Nova growled. He followed her gaze and saw a drone in the hallway. It hadn't seen them yet. Ethan whispered back, quiet. But it was too late. The drone turned. A red light blinked on its front. Nova jumped. She hit the drone before it could fire. Her claws tore through its shell. It sparked and fell, but the damage was done. A signal was sent. They know, Ethan said. We have to run. They rushed back through the station. More drones came from the sky, flying fast. Ethan fired his old blaster, hitting one. Nova jumped and destroyed another. They reached the open land. The cave was still far. Keep moving, Ethan shouted. Nova ran beside him. Drones followed. One fired, and the shot hit near Ethan's feet. He stumbled, but kept going. Nova turned and attacked again. She leaped high, crashing into a drone. They rolled on the ground, sparks flying. Ethan stopped. Nova. She got up, limping, but still strong. They kept running. The cave came into view. The ship waited inside. Ethan rushed to the control panel. Starting engine. Nova stood at the entrance, guarding him. She growled at the drones coming closer. The ship's lights turned green. Power filled the room. Ethan shouted, "Get in." Nova ran inside as the first drone entered the cave. The ship rose, slowly, then faster. The drones fired, but the blasts hit the cave walls. They broke through the top, flying into the sky. Ethan smiled, breathing hard. We made it. Nova stood beside him, her eyes watching the stars. They were no longer trapped, but the fight was not over. Far above, the Krell warship moved closer. The hunter had found its prey. Ethan looked at Nova. We're not done yet. She growled softly, and he understood. They would face it together, not as man and beast, but as partners. Asterisk, the dropship, flew through the upper sky of Varela 7. Ethan sat at the controls, his hands tight on the wheel. Nova stood beside him, her eyes focused on the stars ahead. The air inside the ship was tense. They had escaped the cave, but the Krell were close. Ethan checked the radar. Red dots moved in the distance. We have at least 2 drones behind us. Maybe more, he said. Nova let out a soft growl. She moved to the back of the ship and watched the sky through the rear window. Ethan pushed the engines harder. The dropship shook but held together. It was old, but it could still fly. We can't go into space yet, he said. We need to lose them first. He turned the ship toward the western cliffs. Tall, sharp rocks rose from the ground like towers. If they flew low, maybe they could hide. Nova moved to his side again. She sent him a short vision. It showed the cliffs and a small valley between them. A place to land. A place to fight if needed. Ethan nodded. Let's try it. The ship dipped low, skimming just above the snow. Drones followed fast, their weapons glowing. One fired. The blast hit the back wing. The ship shook hard. Hold on, Ethan shouted. Nova braced herself. Sparks flew from the back panel. Ethan pulled the ship into a narrow path between the cliffs. The drones followed, but the space was tight. One crashed into a rock and exploded. We lost one, Ethan said, breathing fast. They flew into the valley. The ship came down hard, landing with a loud crash. Ethan jumped out with his blaster. Nova followed, teeth bared. The last drone flew overhead, searching. Ethan aimed and fired. The shot hit the wing. The drone dropped lower. Nova leaped. She jumped high, grabbed the drone, and pulled it to the ground. It smashed into the rocks, silenced. Ethan walked over, breathing hard. That's all of them. Nova stood over the broken drone, her chest rising and falling. She looked tired, but strong. Ethan checked the ship. The back wing was damaged, but not too bad. He could fix it. They spent the rest of the day hiding in the valley. Ethan repaired the wing while Nova rested. She lay in the snow, her fur glowing, softly in the shadows. As night came, Ethan sat beside her. "You saved us again," he said. Nova looked at him and sent a memory. He saw her as a warrior. She had trained with others, protected cities, fought in the skies. She had always been a fighter. Then he saw her fall. Her ship crashed, and she waited in the cold, thinking no one would come. Ethan nodded, but I did. Nova touched her head to his hand. The next morning, Ethan finished the repairs. "We can fly again," he said, "but we need a new plan." Nova showed him a vision of a place far away, a resistance base, hidden on a small moon. Her people had once worked with other species. Maybe someone still fought the Krell. Ethan looked at the star chart. "It's a long flight. But if there's a chance to stop the Krell, we have to go." Nova stood and howled softly. Her voice echoed in the valley. They boarded the ship and took off. The dropship rose slowly, then turned to the sky. As they flew higher, the stars grew brighter. Space opened before them. Ethan looked at Nova. "Let's find your people. Let's fight back." Nova closed her eyes and nodded. They passed through the planet's edge and entered space. The radar was clear for now. Ethan set the course. The ship jumped into faster travel. He sat back and watched the stars fly past. Nova rested near him, her breathing calm. They had made it. They were not alone anymore, and the real fight was just beginning. The dropship flew through the upper sky of Varela 7. Ethan sat at the controls, his hands tight on the wheel. Nova stood beside him, her eyes focused on the stars ahead. The air inside the ship was tense. They had escaped the cave, but the Krell were close. Ethan checked the radar. Red dots moved in the distance. "We have at least 2 drones behind us. Maybe more," he said. Nova let out a soft growl. She moved to the back of the ship and watched the sky through the rear window. Ethan pushed the engines harder. The dropship shook but held together. It was old, but it could still fly. "We can't go into space yet," he said. "We need to lose them first." He turned the ship toward the western cliffs. Tall, sharp rocks rose from the ground like towers. If they flew low, maybe they could hide. Nova moved to his side again. She sent him a short vision. It showed the cliffs and a small valley between them, a place to land, a place to fight if needed. Ethan nodded. "Let's try it." The ship dipped low, skimming just above the snow. Drones followed fast, their weapons glowing. One fired. The blast hit the back wing. The ship shook hard. "Hold on," Ethan shouted. Nova braced herself. Sparks flew from the back panel. Ethan pulled the ship into a narrow path between the cliffs. The drones followed, but the space was tight. One crashed into a rock and exploded. "We lost one," Ethan said, breathing fast. They flew into the valley. The ship came down hard, landing with a loud crash. Ethan jumped out with his blaster. Nova followed, teeth bared. The last drone flew overhead, searching. Ethan aimed and fired. The shot hit the wing. The drone dropped lower. Nova leaped. She jumped high, grabbed the drone, and pulled it to the ground. It smashed into the rocks. Silence. Ethan walked over, breathing hard. That's all of them. Nova stood over the broken drone, her chest rising and falling. She looked tired, but strong. Ethan checked the ship. The back wing was damaged, but not too bad. He could fix it. They spent the rest of the day hiding in the valley. Ethan repaired the wing while Nova rested. She lay in the snow, her fur glowing. Softly in the shadows. As night came, Ethan sat beside her. "You saved us again," he said. Nova looked at him and sent a memory. He saw her as a warrior. She had trained with others, protected cities, fought in the skies. She had always been a fighter. Then he saw her fall. Her ship crashed, and she waited in the cold, thinking no one would come. Ethan nodded, but I did. Nova touched her head. To his hand, the next morning, Ethan finished the repairs. "We can fly again," he said, "but we need a new plan." Nova showed him a vision of a place far away, a resistance base, hidden on a small moon. Her people had once worked with other species. Maybe someone still fought the Krell. Ethan looked at the star chart. "It's a long flight, but if there's a chance to stop the Krell, we have to go." Nova stood and howled softly. Her voice echoed in the valley. They boarded the ship and took off. The dropship rose slowly, then turned to the sky as they flew. Higher, the stars grew brighter. Space opened before them. Ethan looked at Nova. "Let's find your people. Let's fight back." Nova closed her eyes and nodded. They passed through the planet's edge and entered space. The radar was clear for now. Ethan set the course. The ship jumped into faster travel. He sat back and watched the stars fly past. Nova rested near him, her breathing calm. They had made it. They were not alone anymore, and the real fight was just beginning. The secret base on the moon became busy with work. People repaired ships, checked weapons, and shared news about Krell attacks. The air was full of purpose. Everyone knew a big battle was coming. Ethan stood with Nova near a large table that showed a map of stars. The base leader, Carla, pointed at a red mark. "This is where the Krell weapon is being built. A hidden facility deep inside an asteroid field. No one has ever gotten close." Nova looked at the map and gave a low growl. Ethan placed his hand on her back. "We've seen it. It's real. We need to destroy it before they finish." Carla nodded. "We have 3 small ships and 30 soldiers. That's all. If we go in loud, we'll lose everyone." Ethan spoke calmly. "We don't go in loud. We go quiet. Nova and I can sneak in. We get the data. We find a way to shut it down." One soldier stepped forward. "That's suicide. The Krell will find you." Nova gave a sharp sound. Then she showed a vision. It was her and Ethan moving through the asteroid field, avoiding scanners. They entered the base through a weak point. The room was quiet. Carla said, "If she can guide you, maybe it's possible. We'll be ready to move if you signal us." Ethan nodded. "We'll leave at first light." That night, Ethan sat alone for a while. He looked at the stars through the window. He thought about the old days, before the war, before the cold moons, and quiet nights. Then he felt Nova beside him. He smiled. "I never thought I'd be here, fighting again, but it feels right, because of you." Nova leaned against him. In the morning, they took off in the dropship. The stars passed slowly as they moved toward the Krell base. Nova helped guide the ship through the asteroid field. She sensed dangers before they appeared. Ethan trusted her completely. They reached the edge of the facility. It was built into a huge rock, dark and sharp. Krell ships floated nearby. Guards moved in patterns. Ethan parked the ship behind a drifting rock. We go in quiet. They left the ship and moved through the shadows. Ethan wore a light suit. Nova moved like a ghost. They reached a vent on the side of the rock. It was hidden, small, but just big enough. They crawled through it, down a tunnel, and into the Krell base. Inside, the walls were cold and smooth. Strange blue lights lit the halls. The Krell moved like machines, fast and without emotion. Ethan and Nova hid behind crates, moved when the guards turned, and made their way to the core. They reached a control room. Screens showed a huge weapon. It looked like a cannon built into the rock itself. Energy moved through its wires like lightning. Ethan downloaded the data. They planned to use it on Earth first. Nova growled low. Her eyes glowed. Suddenly, an alarm rang. A Krell soldier had seen them. "Run," Ethan shouted. They raced back through the halls. Krell soldiers chased them. Blasts hit the walls near them. Nova jumped and knocked one enemy down. Ethan fired his blaster, hitting another. They reached the tunnel, crawled fast, and made it to the ship. Ethan shouted, "Hold on." The ship took off fast. Krell fighters followed. Nova used the ship's weapons. She hit one fighter, then another. Ethan dodged rocks and flew hard. "We just need to make it out." Carla's voice came over the radio. "We see you, bringing reinforcements." Ships from the moon base flew in. Together, they pushed the Krell back. Ethan and Nova landed safely. Inside the base, Ethan gave Carla the data. They were going to fire the weapon in 3 days. But we found its weak point. It needs one power core. Destroy that, and it can't fire. Carla smiled. "Then we know what to do." She turned to her team. "Get ready. We fight tomorrow." That night, Nova rested near Ethan again. He looked at her. "We made it." Again, Nova sent him a vision. A free galaxy. No Krell. Peace. Ethan nodded. "We'll get there. One battle at a time."